All right, testing, testing. You guys hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. All right. So with that, let me go ahead and kick things off. Welcome everyone to our NOC Inside Tour. With this, I want to just set some ground rules real quick. So what you don't see behind us is a small army of people representing a host of different technologies from all across Cisco in order to make this event happen. And so this particular Insight Tour, you'll see we've got the schedule here. We're going to be starting off with what we call the Enterprise Network, which is currently running just about everything on the show here. So we're going to be talking about the core, the distribution, the access. We're going to talk about some of the deployment challenges that we face, which are unique to Cisco Live. And then obviously what network would be a network without the internet. So we've got Jason who will also take us through our WAN routers and what we're doing in order to get everyone connected. So that being said, I'll introduce myself. My name is Chris Gabrielson. I am one of our principal engineers inside of CX Centers, inside of TAC. I've been in computer networking for about 20 years now, 15 of which at Cisco. And needless to say, I've seen just about everything that can go wrong and has gone wrong. I've been troubleshooting it inside the TAC. And so I am one of many people that come from across Cisco in order to help make this event happen. And one of the things that I am just super impressed about every single year that is relatively unique to Cisco Live, if we think about your network in a traditional enterprise, chances are it's been there for a long time. If you need something new, it's planned over weeks or months, and then it takes a few weeks to roll it out. We don't have that here. This entire center, from the walls over there all the way down quarter mile away, is an empty warehouse as of a week ago from today. And then we need to go from that to a full-blown enterprise-level network, 500 plus devices, currently supporting over 30,000 clients. We just checked the utilization a little while ago. We're hitting 20,000 ARP entries, 40,000 IPv6 neighbors. It's a big enterprise network, to say the least. And we go from 0 to 100% really fast. It is 12, 14-hour days making sure we can get all this deployed. And that's a big challenge for us, is speed. We have a lot of this gear. The planning really starts several months ago. We look at, okay, what do we have in terms of new technology coming out that we want to try to demonstrate? What do we have that we used last year that worked? Because we want to make sure we can integrate it in, but also that speed of deployment is a tricky aspect. And then what can we expand on and maybe make better from last year based on lessons learned? This all compounds over the course of years. And so we settle with a design, we do some testing, we use tools like Catalyst Center in our lab in San Jose where we stage configs across all of our devices, do some initial testing, make sure it's good, and then it goes into a giant container, goes on a truck, and gets sent out to the venue. That's where things usually go off the rails, because now we run into the next problem is we have over 500 switches, the vast majority of which are going to be access layer that are in a lot of the booths. They're in our sales pavilion up top in all the Whisper suites. So access layer for us is a big deal. And we have a team that we call the Dream Team, thank you. We have our Dream Team individuals. These are usually early in career individuals that are looking to break into networking. And their job is they go up to this container, they grab a switch, they walk to some place on a map, put it down, plug in some cables, and walk away. And that, I think, is one of the first big things that we have is we have a extremely robust set of scripts that runs individually on every single device that we have honed over the course of years to the point where you just got to put the switch down, power it on, plug it in. It'll automatically detect what is connected to it. It'll figure out, okay, is it one of our signs here? Is it an access point? Is it a phone? Is it something else? Is it a camera? And it automatically puts all the configurations that we need. If it's uplink, if it's downlink, it figures it out, pushes it. So that way, even if it's a switch standing all by itself with no connectivity to the network yet, it still gets everything configured independently. And then we take that a step further when it comes to troubleshooting, because we also have a unique environment here where, if I'm being generous, we're all fellow nerds here. I think that what's the first thing you do? You whip out your phone, you do a speed test on the network. You do that multiplied by 20,000 people, plus all the vendors, not a lot of people from, say, accounting are bringing their own DHCP server. Every year we have at least a dozen rogue DHCP servers out there that we need to contend with. We've got vendors that are like, hey, you know what, I wonder what happens if I scan the entire /16 IP range and they start hammering all of our control planes. So we need to find a balance between giving them a little bit of a peek in the network, but not allowing them to accidentally take it down for everyone. And trust me, a lot of them try. And so we've got these scripts that are what we call health checkers. And they're constantly looking at some of the key areas that we found over the years will cause these switches to tip over. Things like we're looking at our ASIC statistics. Obviously, that's the powerhouse of the switch. We're looking at our control plane. If you don't have a control plane, you don't have a switch. That's all your L2, L3 protocols. It's giving you all of your telemetry back to a lot of the dashboards you see behind me. So these scripts, again, incredibly robust. We've been building on top of them for years. They're in a really good spot. And with that, I'll talk a little bit about our L2. So I think if we switch this over to, I think it's this one. Yeah, there we go. So we can see now a little bit about how this network is set up. And I'll start on the left and kind of work my way over. Wireless. This is one of the big changes that we made this year. So for anyone who is not aware, wireless is the largest segment, obviously. Everyone's got their cameras out right now. You all have a connection. We've got wireless laptops. 80% of all the connections on the show are going to be wireless. And for that, we need to have a really robust switch that terminates all these different wireless controllers. Because our wireless guys also want to try all sorts of new things out, and so they need all these controllers. And we need something with what we call a beefy control plane. And so this year, we are dealing with the 9500X. This is a Silicon One based distribution switch. For anyone who's not familiar, I'm sure the marketing guys can give you all the stats, but this thing is moving, or has the ability to move, well over 1 billion packets per second. And it has been a beast. And this is the first time that we've run with this switch in what is essentially, other than the core, the most important part of this network segment. And we've got monitoring right now. We're looking at CPU, we're looking at our adjacency counts, MAC address tables, overall performance, forwarding, pretty much everything you can think of. And that switch has been running great for us so far. So knock on wood, it stays like that for at least the next 3 days. After Thursday, I don't care. And so afterwards, moving our way, we got the core, and we're going to have Richard talk about that in a little bit more detail, but that's going to be our 9600s running Supervisor 1. Readjust my, I think here I still sound all right? Yeah. So 9600 Supervisor 1, that obviously connects to our data center, which is going to be someone else's session. I'll let them talk about that. But then over here we have our distributions, and this is going to be a combination of, we have some Silicon One switches, some high performance 9500 using the UADP 3.0, so the Unified Access Data Plane, predecessor to Silicon One. And then off of that we have hundreds. Usually it's like a 9200CX. If you look under a lot of the desks, you'll see them. They're the fanless switches. They get kicked around. Forklifts are running them over. All sorts of fun things happen to those little guys. I feel bad for them. But with that, we also have robust layer 2 security. Because this is also one of the nightmare scenarios when we're talking about a venue like this. It's like, okay, what are people going to bring? I don't know. Well, are they going to be secure? We don't know. It's whatever is running on the device. Well, are they going to do anything funny? Probably. So, again, how do we balance connectivity with security and making sure the network stays available for all? So we're looking at DHCP snooping, again, for all those rogue DHCP servers. We run port security to keep anyone from just blasting the network with like 100,000 random addresses, trying to overload our TCAM, which has happened. It also makes it where if you try to spoof my gateway, I will know who you are, at least for a couple of minutes, because port security will keep that there, and we can automate things around to figure out if someone's doing something funny. And we can usually shut that port down pretty quick. So as port security, we don't do ARP inspection just because there's so many devices out here that people are staticking ARPs. We've never found a way to stay on top of things. And then I think from a L2 security perspective, we got that. We have storm control, another one, loops. Everyone loves just connecting any cable they see back into the network, and before you know it, broadcast, multicast, storm control, triggering every single hour. But fortunately, those features are doing a great job to keep everything operational. Now afterwards, we go from those access layer to the distribution. This is our first L3. I do not allow any user to touch the core, at least from a layer 2 perspective. So with that, I think I'll go ahead and pass it to Richard, take us through the distribution and what we're doing for layer 3.
All right, thank you, Chris. Hello, everyone. My name is Richard Furr. I'm a principal engineer. I worked in Cisco TAC for 25 years this year. So I've been doing this event since 2015, and as Chris mentioned, we've learned a lot over the years, and we try to incorporate new things every year. One of those being the wireless distribution, which is the primary connectivity point for most people walking around. We also have the other mixture of 9500X and 9500 high performance for the distribution switches. All of those distribution switches are the layer 3 handoff towards the user. That's where we implement any layer 3 related features like access list, QoS. We have IP multicast for all of the session capture videos. Security cameras, I think, also are using multicast. And again, the cap WAP that comes through for the wireless clients. So a lot of different types of traffic are coming in there, but it's our main focal area for features towards the users, the first L3 handoff. Moving towards the core, everything is a consistent topology. All of the 9500s are stack-wise virtual, using a port channel of either 100 or 40 gig links back to the core. The core is a 9606 SOUP 1. Basically, here we don't have any features. We're just moving packets as fast as we can. We try to keep all of the feature-heavy stuff down at the distribution layer from a layer 3 perspective. The core of the network between all of the distributions is all layer 3 routed, so we're using OSPF for IPv4, and we are dual stacked, so we have OSPF running for IPv6 as well. As far as new features go this year in the distribution, the main thing I would say is the 9500X. We had not used it previously. We had previously a pair of Nexuses that were doing wireless distribution duties. This year we have the 9500X, and so far so good. Been impressed with the capabilities there. I think one of the things that Chris had mentioned was, we do a lot of staging and pre-work, but when we get here, things change, and they change often and frequently. So one of the things that I've tried over the years is experimenting with different types of automation to make those kind of last-minute configuration changes. This year, I'm doing something new. I rewrote my whole toolbox using Cisco RadKit. So how many people out there have heard of RadKit or used RadKit? Good. A few out there. If you want to learn more, I think they have some folks over there in the booth right across here that can help you learn more. But essentially, it's like a remote automation toolkit is what RadKit stands for. And I was able to take our inventory from DNAC, pull it into RadKit's inventory, and then it allows me to run scripts and automation over all of the various different device types that we have. So I have different groups broken out for the access, the IDF layer, the distribution, or the core, and I can go out, I can do a configuration backup on, dozens of devices in seconds. It's really, really cool. And also for pushing out changes like access lists is a big one, because as Chris mentioned, we don't know what people are bringing. Sometimes they come here and they say, I need to connect to here or to here, and that requires me to go in and touch ACLs, and instead of having to touch 6 or 7 switches, I can just do it once and push it out with RadKit, and it's done, automated. So really cool stuff. I encourage everyone to check out RadKit. And I think with that, Jason, if you want to walk everybody through the WAN.
Thanks, Richard. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jason Fraley. I'm a tech lead in Cisco CX. I'll talk us through a little bit of the WAN connectivity here at the show. So Chris took us through the layer 2 of the show, and then Richard took us through the layer 3 up to the core switching device. Northbound of our core, we actually have connectivity to a firepower cluster that protects our edge. And northbound of the firepower cluster, we have a pair of Catalyst 8500s, the 8500 20X6Cs. They're pretty big, beefy boxes. We'll push a lot of packets. But for this particular show, we only have dual 10 gig handoffs to our service provider. So our service provider this year, our first hop is Smart City. They're the venue operator for San Diego Convention Center. So we have redundant 10 gig links to them. And then Smart City has 10 gig peering to both Lumen and Crown Castle as their upstream ISPs. So we have our own provider-independent IPv4 and IPv6 base. So we're advertising our routes to Smart City via BGP, and they're propagating our V4 and V6 routes out to the internet and the default feed zone on our behalf. As far as monitoring on the WAN side, we're doing streaming telemetry. We've linked into streaming telemetry to pull operational statistics from a lot of our devices for the last several years. And this year we're feeding it straight into Splunk. And you'll see once we take the topology off and put the dashboards back up, we've got quite a few different Splunk dashboards out there that allow us to have quick access to all the operational data across a lot of different core technologies. So once the dashboards come back up, our WAN statistics are in the upper left television there, so you can see those. Thank you, Chris. So we got the WAN statistics up here, and then I believe our layer 3 statistics there, and our layer 2 monitoring in Splunk there. In addition to Splunk, we're also using Thousand Eyes for keeping track of our connectivity across the venue. So we have about a dozen agents deployed around the show and then in the cloud as well. So we're able to do synthetic tests between all of our agents and to key endpoints out in the internet to ensure that we have that connectivity in place. And then finally, on the WAN monitoring side, we're using Crossword Cloud and BGPmon to monitor our BGP advertisements and ensure nobody's doing any route hijacking of our prefixes on the rest of the internet. With that, I'll turn it back to Chris.
I think, there we go. All right, I'm back. So, yeah, a couple other things I think as well. I don't know if I mentioned it, but the blue container next to me is actually all of this gear. This is not just for display. This is the production network. Jason talked about our ISP links. If you want to see us get really nervous, the big yellow cable up top, that is the internet. So walk around with a pair of scissors, you'll see us start chasing you and security is going to come. But yeah, everything that you see here is in production. And when we talk about some of these dashboards, we also, this year again, Splunk was relatively new. Last year, this time, was right around the time that Cisco acquired Splunk. So we had like 3 weeks notice to try to put something together. We had a little bit, but this year we had a lot more time to try and plan. And some of the neat things, obviously, we have the dashboards that sort of speak to themselves a little bit, you know, number of clients, utilization. This is, again, looking at, when we look at this from a performance perspective, I'm looking at CPU, I'm looking at memory, I'm looking at my TCAM, making sure that that doesn't tip over. But you'll also see, and I'll see if I can catch it when it goes, this is more just the fun stuff. We took a photo of some of the equipment here, and it is the background. So I think that's kind of neat about Splunk. If you're looking at a dashboard, you have the actual switch, a picture of the switch with all of its cables that is being featured. And so, especially in a venue like this, where we might be dispatching someone and saying, hey, look for, no, it's the yellow cable, not the blue cable. The blue cable's internet, yellow is the downstream, pull that one. And having that little photo of exactly what it looks like, I don't know, it's a little thing, but I think it's super cool. So, with that, you guys have anything else you want to add? Otherwise, I think maybe we'll flip it around. Yeah, so with that, we will go ahead and open it up to questions. And yeah, we already got some right off the bat.
Yeah, in regards to setting up this Cisco Live network, what was the most challenging part? Was it the WAN, the core, or the access points?
Okay, so the question was, with regards to this network, what would we say is the most challenging part? Was it the core, the WAN, access point, or any particular? I think that depends on who you ask, because the wireless guys certainly, they've got their hands full just in terms of, I think we have well over 1,000 access points and trying to test speed connectivity. We were here relatively late last night looking at that. From a core distribution, I would say core distro access, we're not counting all the lessons learned over years to get to this point. And I think Richard, Jason, and myself, we've been working together so long, we've learned a lot of really hard lessons that I would argue have made this deployment probably one of our smoother ones. But there has been multiple nights where we've been WAN testing at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, well after working hours. So every show has its own unique challenges. There's also just, I spoke earlier, all the cabling is also new. Like something odd that we have to do here specifically. We have a script that just looks for CRC errors because all the cabling is literally gaffer taped to the floor hours before the show goes online, or days in some cases. The core uptime is less than a week. For some of the access layer switches, they're deploying them a day before the show starts. And so we're just trying to look at just L1 on a venue this scale is sort of unique to Cisco Live. So, and do you guys have any other challenges? Yeah, just, okay. I think, yeah. Okay, so the topology shows our WAN routers are connected to the exact same rack. What happens if, yeah, they're in the same rack? Well, that means we're going to have a really bad day. I think.
To your point, they are placed physically in the same rack, but we do have A and B feed power coming in for redundancy on the power side.
Yes.
If a forklift ran into that rack, yeah, it would be a bad day.
And I think that's also the balance. When it comes to computer networking, there's do as I say, not as I do. Some of this is just the nature of the venue, right? We have a shipping container, it's relatively closed, we got to get it up and running, and they're soldering the copper pipes for the cooling system the day before all this gets powered on. So some of it's just ease of installation. Yeah. Okay, one and then two. So there's multiple dashboards here. Is there one system bringing everything together? And I think we're getting close to that. I think almost all these dashboards are Splunk. Obviously, this one's Catalyst Center. But I don't know if we have a single system that we've got that just pulls everything together. It's usually a mix of everything from like SNMP monitoring. We have Netconf Yang for the devices that will support that. In some cases, we do CLI scraping for some of the stuff that maybe doesn't have a MIB. But yeah, it's an amalgamation of everything. Again, lessons learned over the years. So I think, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so the question was, what made us choose Stackwise Virtual on the core as opposed to maybe splitting the core and running just, ECMP or something like that, right? So do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely eases our configuration. We have a single interface with a single subnet on it, so we don't have to use as much addressing space to address multiple ECMP links, and it gives us the same level of redundancy. So we have a single control plane, single link. It's a little bit easier from a management perspective.
Yeah, a little bit easier to deal with. Any other questions?
Any resources you post here that are available to the internet, to the public?
Are there any resources that we're hosting here which are available to the public? I don't think, in terms of servers, I don't think they're hosting any servers or, yeah.
Most of the traffic from this venue is going out
straight to the internet, yeah. That's one of the things that, again, lessons learned over the years. Richard has really tuned our ACLs over the years to make sure for all of our attendee Wi-Fi, you're basically allowed to hit our distribution core straight to the firewall and out. We don't want anyone touching any of the management level VLANs or interrupting testing center or anything that obviously is going to have a negative impact. Yeah, because we see port and IP scanners come across all the time, and a lot of times these vendors may not realize that what they're doing may actually have a negative impact, especially if they're trying to turn it into overdrive for the purpose of the customer demo. So all that's pretty well locked down.
One more question. Connection, is it your network covering only this building or Marriott, or how it's connected here? It's the same SSID there.
I'll take that one.
Yeah.
So for the San Diego Convention Center, all of the traffic feeds through the distributions into the core here in the container. For the Marriott, it's similar. So we have a pair of fiber from the Marriott venue to our distribution, feeds into the core. We also have some auxiliary space in the Hilton Bayfront. They're actually using a Meraki deployment there in the hotel, and the hotel venue is providing that internet service. And then Omni has a little bit, and the Hyatt have a few auxiliary programs as well. Those are also using local Wi-Fi from the
Here
hotel.
and Marriott and other some mix kind of mix.
That's right. So the main areas in the San Diego Convention Center and the Marriott are all being serviced through this core container.
Thank you.
Where's the Grafana pulling data from?
I'm sorry?
Where's the Grafana pulling data from?
Where is the Grafana pulling data from? You still have a
I
Grafana?
believe that Grafana dashboard is for our NetApp FlexPod deployment. I don't know what backend they're using for their data. We do have a data center talk that's coming up in 30 minutes, so if you want to stick around, you can probably ask them more about their telemetry data.
Yep. All right. Any other questions?
Is this just for the internet, it's isolated network, or do you have it back and use other?
Okay, is this just for the internet, or do we have any tunnels going back to our other locations? I think.
Yeah, for this show, it is all cloud serviced. So we don't have any co-location facilities any longer in remote sites. So you're accessing services through the internet and through the cloud. No remote hosted sites for the infrastructure at least.
Yes. Yeah, so, and right here, so this is going to be, so today is, and it's every day until Thursday, is going to be the Enterprise Network, this session. And then we have the data center at 1 p.m., security, wireless, monitoring, and DevOps. And then at the very end, if you want to hear about what went right, or hopefully not, but what went wrong, we're usually very open. We have, it's one of the last sessions in Cisco Live on Thursday, is the NOC panel, and you'll hear a representative of all of these technologies talking about some of our challenges, some of our wins, hopefully more wins than challenges, and yeah, we usually get a lot of good feedback from that session.